this is Burn the Ship. Thank you for coming. I appreciate that very much. Anybody that takes the time, it does mean a lot that you make the trip. So I wanted to say that very first. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
But this is Burn the Ship. Our goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We've been very fortunate to interview a bunch of people that have walked the walk and talked the talk and learned all kinds of different things from their experience in small business that has helped us bottle up some of those experiences and traits and skills and teach them to that next generation of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of love all the time of like, oh, I heard that on Burn the Ship. I heard that on Burn the Ship, or I want to go, it motivated me to go really hard. So you're a part of that now. Thank you. I appreciate that. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business.
My name's Erika Audrey, and I own Hawkins Clover. It's a gift shop in Grant Park in Atlanta. And I don't know what else to say. We specialize in products that are mindfully created, not on Amazon, and from minority-owned manufacturers.
Tell me a story. And I don't know how far that story needs to go back, but how did you get into what you do now?
Okay, so here's the deal. So I started my career off as a hairdresser, and as I got into like my late 20s, something happens with women where we get invited to a lot of baby showers and bridal showers and these big events centered around gifting. And it's like this... it can be really annoying. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like this little competition of who's going to give the best gift, who spent the most money. And I realized, that it's so cringe, and I wish people would just open their gifts after the party and not make you sit around and watch it. But that... the way that you give a gift says just as much about you as it does the recipient. And so I think you can tell when somebody did a last minute rush job on Amazon and it's just a bunch of crap. You can tell when someone has put a lot of thought into something and really knows the recipient. And I realized just from personal experiences and the types of shops that I like to go to when I travel, that Atlanta was missing out on a place where you could go and know that anything you picked up off the shelf was not going to give you cancer, somewhat mindfully manufactured, and just something that you could be proud of giving, and that reflected your values as a customer and a consumer, and hopefully that the recipient will appreciate. So kind of more of a quality over quantity situation.
Sure. When did you start? What's the name of your business again?
Hawkins Clover.
How long ago was that? What was the beginning of that?
So I have had my storefront for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I started...
So you went retail first?
No. So I have always... My background is in hairdressing. Mm-hmm. And so I started my career off as a hairdresser. And when I decided that I wanted to open my own business, I started off with this being just a salon. And it was me and another girl, and we worked together for almost 10 years. And we had a great thing going. It was just a wonderful work dynamic. She was awesome. It was just the two of us, and we just crushed it. Again, for almost a decade. But then she decided to take a career pivot, which totally happened. She gave me like 6 months notice. And I was thinking about it, and I just really didn't want to expand the service side of things. I don't like managing creatives, and I'm really controlling when it comes to that type of thing. So I saw an opportunity to create a space like I was just describing in the retail vertical, that could be, I could have a little bit more control over it. I could also have revenue coming in from online. And then I didn't have to deal with trying to replace this gold star employee. It's impossible. There's no way I could have rebuilt that type of a relationship, because she and I had worked together at another business prior to me opening this one. So about, it was January of 2020, I started my remodel. That's
4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I know. Isn't that so weird?
It's weird, yeah.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, I did this big remodel, and I shifted the salon stuff to the back, the retail stuff to the front. I went all in, and we finished up the construction in the second week of March, and then I had to shut down for 3 months. So it's been quite the time to get into retail, but 4 years later, we're doing wonderful.
Sure.
Yeah. So everything worked out.
So let me ask you this. So you're starting the retail side of your business. Mm-hmm. What did you do very well at the beginning? What was your strength? What was your superpower as far as growing your business and Because that's a big jump. The service side of things to the retail side of things, the marketing is completely different. The relationship with people,
Yeah.
the direct to consumer that you don't have a relationship with is a hard language to learn. So, like, what were you doing really well?
So I think not even in that specifically, but in multiple moments throughout my career, the biggest thing I can say that I've done well is trusted my gut. And so there's a lot of people who were in my ear that were not necessarily understanding of this move. But I just knew that there were a lot of skill sets that I had acquired with almost 20 years of working behind the chair as a hairdresser that I could expand my client base and kind of give people a comparable feel-good experience in a retail setting as I was in a salon setting.
Sure.
So I trusted my gut that I knew what I was doing or that I could figure it out. And then I really relied on my past self for knowing I'd set myself up for success. Like I had the savings for the build out. I had already built a lot of good work ethos and practices. And I knew that if I just applied them to something different, it just logically, I was like, it should work. It just makes sense to me. And for the most part, it has.
Sure. So it wasn't getting the customers was never really the pain point for you.
No, I've always been really good at connecting with people and figuring out exactly what a particular individual's pain point or need point is and focusing on that.
I'd imagine that kind of is what led you to build this suite of products that you built over time as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you see recurring needs in people, kind of recognize the patterns as we do as humans.
Absolutely. And it's, as a hairdresser, you're getting 1 to 3 hours of one-on-one time with a customer. You hear it all. And so it's like if you hear a need being repeated time after time again, it's like, oh, I can fill that. I've got this.
Sure.
Like, and while you're here, why don't you take this home with you? And so I really, I expanded the revenue that I was making per customer also. And then they, of course, were excited about it. And then they were like my little cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And they would go out into the world and share, look what my hairdresser's done, da-da-da-da. And, yeah, it was all very organic. And I've always had that kind of mindset towards things.
Has social media ever been a big part of it for you?
No, I suck at social media. I think it's stupid. It's not real. I don't want to spend the money on it. And over the years, I've paid influencers and people to run my social media. And there's never been a conversion rate for me that's made it make sense or made it worth it. And I also know now that I've been at this for long enough, you see these brands online that have 50,000 followers, but it's like, what's your engagement and what are your sales like?
Yeah.
So I know people who have these big
likes.
accounts. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you're not getting any engagement. And I know people who are broke, but have all of these followers. And so that's when I realized it's important to have a presence, of course, because people are going to go to your Instagram or whatever. But it's for me just more for people to get a feel of like our aesthetic and kind of just our vibe. And I've never like put a lot of weight into it.
Is there a lot of value in, because you're in Grant Park, right? Is there a real community amongst the other businesses there, or?
Only just now. So for over a decade, I was the only like retail storefront. So it was lots of just other like offices, honestly. But there's a new retail business that just opened up right next door to me, and they're awesome. And it's been so nice having neighbors that we can just kind of bounce ideas off of and collaborate and just draw more people to my side of the sidewalk. And that has been really, really great.
Sure, that makes sense. Because I'm picturing that whole area in my head, and it's a bunch of offices.
It's a bunch of offices, and
there's
a lot
bunch of
empty
people
ones.
walking, but yeah, there's a ton of. I can only imagine what that place is like, kind of post COVID. I've done meeting after meeting after meeting in that area, and it's a little different now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the foot traffic where you were converting a high number of people to walk into your store, and people were window shopping a lot. I feel like that vibe's kind of different, right?
It is not a good retail space. If I wasn't already locked into a commercial lease and had 6 figures of build out money in it, I wouldn't open a storefront where I did.
Sure.
So that's been another interesting thing is like trying to make fetch happen where fetch like naturally doesn't want to.
Sure.
But it is changing, and I definitely I would rather be where I am because this is an old converted, like, I think it was like a paper factory or something. So it's like a very cool loft space that has a lot of natural personality and a cool vibe. And I'd always rather that over some new white box construction. Sure. So I'm making it work.
What was really, really difficult for you at the beginning of opening your business? Like everybody has different obstacles, you know what I mean? So I guess that biggest obstacle that you've overcome could have been at a different point in your business, but like
Staffing.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, because I have high expectations of anybody that I do business with, whether it's with my vendors or employees or whatever. And I don't like a lot of bullshit. So I'm very direct and kind of curt in a business relationship. And when you're talking about hiring someone on minimum wage to work the front desk of a little retail shop, I really struggled to find somebody who like got it and who cared. And so I kissed a lot of frogs until I found the right person who I'm working with now, who's just, this chick is amazing. She's like reads my mind. She's the perfect employee. I pay her more than I've ever paid anybody else, and she deserves every dollar. But finding somebody that I felt like I could trust and be like, okay, I'm not in the shop today. You're there, and I trust that you've got this. If I can't answer the phone for whatever reason, very difficult.
You think that's I would imagine a lot of people in your industry share the same pain.
I bet so.
What would you tell those people that are experiencing the same thing, especially early on in your retail space? I mean, I guess I would tell somebody pretty early on is like, don't be scared to work. Like, you know, you can always, especially if you're not pulling yourself in two directions, like you should be your very first employee at your retail location. But like once you're growing and your job is changing to where I have to go and create business and run business and do business development, all these different things.
Yeah.
It's a different conversation. You
I
know
agree.
what I mean?
I think my biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to fire somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you know it's not a good fit and it's not working, like you can't train somebody out of their natural personality type.
Yeah.
And I'm all for giving chances and having clarifying conversations. But I think once somebody's proven to you that they just don't have what you're looking for, you're doing both of you a disservice by maintaining their employment, because you know that there's somewhere else that their skills could be more valuable, and you know that they're kind of working against your growth and development as a brand. So I definitely held on to employees longer than I, in hindsight, should have, thinking they just need to be coached or they just need to be trained a little more. And it's like, you know.
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to just trust your gut.
Sure.
You know when you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They give you signs. They tell you.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you feel like was the hardest part for you to kind of learn then technically? Because it seems like you have a pretty good handle on the processes side of things and finding the people and finding the good fits. But like, was building out that list of vendors or people that solve problems for business difficult for you, or you've always been pretty good at creating those connections as well?
You know, I
feel like you kind of kiss a few frogs in that world too sometimes.
You do. To me, it all goes back to having very clearly defined brand values. And one of my brand values is I do business with people it feels good to do business with. So if I start a relationship with a vendor and their orders are always arriving late, or they're packed poorly and half of it's damaged, or I have a hard time getting a hold of them, I immediately stop that relationship and I don't try to make it work, because it's like a date. Like you're supposed to be trying to impress me. I'm giving you money. And so if I get that vibe that like, oh, this is just not a good business fit and we just approach things differently, I won't pursue it. And so I think just with every issue you run into, which of course are plentiful as a business owner, just having a really strong backbone to go back on and be like, is this in alignment with my values as a business and brand and as a person? If the answer is no, take the emotion out of it and just make the decision. So I think
it's a difficult thing to do though, because you balance your relationship is so valuable. You know what I mean? The relationship that you build with employees, people like that, is so valuable to the integrity of your business when they are a good fit, that it is hard to separate those emotions sometimes. I guess I'm saying you can't really hold it against some people. It's learned behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely learned behavior. But I could see that too.
Yeah.
It's all very hindering.
Yeah.
So
that's
I can see
exactly
both sides of the coins.
The way I look at it at the end of the day is I'm like, if it's a work relationship, it's a work relationship. And I just have to leave the emotion out of it, and it doesn't matter. So I've let people go where I'm like, oh, I like them as a person.
Yeah.
You just aren't a good employee. It's not personal. But you're holding me back.
It's hard to be friends after that too.
I don't want to be your friend after that.
Yeah.
Like if I ever signed your paycheck, you know what I mean? It's like I keep a strong boundary there.
Yeah.
I don't go out drinking or hanging out with my employees. Like I don't know. So I try my best to preempt having any issues where I'm like, ooh, I've gotten too close to this person. Now it's really difficult to like be a boss in
Yeah.
this scenario, you know?
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. I can relate. I can relate. Well, tell me this. It seems like you've made two big leaps. Office, commercial space in Grant Park is a pretty big leap in its own. You know, when you see
Yeah.
somebody with large commercial space, it's like, okay, that's a leap in itself. So, oh, you hear his vape?
Oh my God, is he vaping?
Yeah, for sure.
Keep that in.
Yeah. Oh, it'll stay in. But office space in Grant Park is a thing in itself, right?
Yeah, sure is.
A big pivot 6-ish years and just a refocusing 6-ish years into being into that commercial space is another really, really big pivot.
Agreed.
What does it feel like to make these big decisions? Because I think that here's really my point, if I could sum it up.
Yeah.
People relate to your story, and people relate to your skills, and people relate to what's difficult to you, and they relate to those obstacles that you face because they felt all of those things, or at least observed them before making that decision to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of the people that are listening right now, the only thing they can't relate to about your story is that you made the decision to make those really big jumps multiple times throughout this journey for yourself. So I ask you what it feels like. And for other people looking to own a business, why should they not be afraid to make those type of decisions and burn the ship and go all in on their business?
Here's the thing. No one knows how long they're going to live, but I know that you're way more inclined to regret the things you didn't do than the things you did do. And what you realize is the first time you do something big and scary, it's big and scary. And then you realize, oh, it's okay. And then something else comes and you're like, okay, I'm having some of those feelings again, but it was okay last time. And so little by little, I just realized, literally no matter what, I will always be okay. And I said, I have my own podcast, and I recently said to a guest on a recent episode that even if my business doesn't exist in 5 years or 10 years, it'll never be a failure to me, because what I've learned about myself as a person and just the process of being scared and doing it anyways, it's so fucking valuable that there is no losing. But you just have to look at it like that and just know that even if, something goes wrong or you lose money or whatever, the lessons are invaluable. And like, why be scared? Like, you want to have a boring life? Not me. I was just like, fuck it.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, I've been so fortunate. Like, I really have a very unique perspective on these things because my company has always treated me like not like a partner in the company. They've always treated me like an entrepreneur.
That's great.
It works both ways because, like, I can sit in my bed and nobody's going to call me in reality, wellness check me. Like, I can do nothing.
Yeah.
I can make no money. Like, I can go sell nothing. That is an option for me.
Yeah.
And they're so busy doing what they do that sometimes it's an extended period of time before they go, yo, what are you up to? Get out of your bed and get on your ass, do some work, you know? And then on the flip side of things, it's always given me the ability to take things in my own direction.
Yeah.
It's always given me the freedom to find out what works for me. Like, no matter how much money I make my company, I could never pay them back for the experience that I've learned from going through this process with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of business owners at this point. And not just a podcast, like from a credit card processing perspective or a networking perspective or a referral perspective. Like, I've seen the same way that you can kind of identify those patterns in humans, you can identify them in business.
Absolutely.
Like, you can tell this retail location's doing this retail location's doing this. One of the two is doing something better than the other one. It's very clear in the data. There is no disputing that fact a lot of times. So, like, just being able to analyze those situations as frequently as I have been able to, I can't find a way to, like, no matter how much money they make or I make, it's like now I can look at things for a whole different sphere.
Yeah.
I know my story is rare. You know what I mean? Like, truthfully, I wouldn't even refer my way to people because sometimes you flounder for so long before really finding your groove that it just completely destroys where you are mentally and how confident you are in yourself for not being able to be productive. Like, it's a normal thing, you know? Like, it's hard for you to be productive all the time. Like, it's just fucking exhausting, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But, like, dude, it's just like you have to at least roll the dice a little bit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have to stress test yourself a little bit. But like every single person I feel like that has sat in this chair and told their story about their business is just another person. And I don't mean that
Mm-hmm.
in a way that you're less or anything, but you're just like you've gone through a lot of the same things that a lot of people go through.
Oh, there's so many parallels. You
Yeah,
just have to make the
100%.
choice.
And it's literally just like you could be 99% of the way there as far as your readiness to be an entrepreneur, and that one small percentage of like I'm just not the type of person that makes big decisions is what's holding you back. And then there's
And I say you're right if that's how you feel. Like you're holding yourself back. And that's it.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's people out there in the world that want to help you start your business, and they
true.
want to see you do well. Like
Yeah.
they're pulling for you. You know, it's just a really unique thing. I think that small business and business in itself and entrepreneurship is such a unique thing, but it is maybe the number one thing in the world that like you can't window watch
Oh, yeah.
entrepreneurship. Like
Yeah.
you have to feel what it's like to put your ass on the line a little bit to really have the experience of an entrepreneur.
I totally agree with that.
And some people risk different amounts, but like, fuck, dude, you got to try something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You got
I
to
do.
try something. You got to be able to pull the trigger on something.
Yes. Well, and your comment about not being able to give 100% every day, I always say there's no such thing as true balance when it comes to this type of thing. So some days I'm giving it 110%, and then some days I'm giving it negative 12%.
Yeah.
And the balance is that everything ultimately gets done. And I think a lot of people let themselves get into trouble without setting good boundaries with their personal life and their work life and their schedule, and figuring out how to work efficiently and make their dreams come true without compromising every other facet of themselves as
Yeah,
a
for
human
sure.
being. And you have to protect your personal energy so that inspiration keeps coming, and just the energy to keep after it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I believe a lot in momentum and consistency in business as well.
Huge.
Like if you're just consistent for so long, like
Yeah.
dude, you can do so much just with the level of consistency that some people have.
Yeah.
Like even if it's not 40 hours a week, even if it's 20 hours a week, if you're consistently doing it 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week or 80 hours a week, like
Yeah.
that level of consistency, and I feel myself too, like I go through these different like ramping up sessions. Like now I got a lot to do, you know, and then I'll do that for a month. I'll go hard for a month, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
You take your foot off the gas and
dude,
relax
I
a
gotta
little.
fucking relax a little
Yes.
bit, you know. And then I'll take a day off work. Like I'll drive to Florida, you know what I mean? Like I'll fly to the mountains. I don't care. I'll go wherever.
Yeah.
But then I'll come back and like I feel the momentum. I feel like it shifted down a little bit, and now I can run a little longer at this lower RPM, you know. And then when I
Yeah.
got to ramp it back up, I'm like, all right, it's game time, you know. Like I
Yeah.
got a lot going on this month. Like I feel like you can change those speeds, but like if you grind it to a halt, it is so hard to speed your business back up.
Yeah.
So like if you're one of those people that's like, I'm gonna put 100 hours into my business this month, and then the next month you put 0.
Yeah.
It's so hard to ride that roller coaster.
Yeah, you
But if
have
you
to
can
set
be
up good
you
routines.
gotta just be consistent.
I
Just
agree.
be consistent. Ask people for help and go hard. You know,
Yeah.
step out on a limb one time. The worst you can do is fall. You're gonna live.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you're totally gonna live. It's gonna be fine. I think people are almost build it up so much in their minds that it's like disappointing once they actually do it. They're like, oh, this is like not that bad.
Yeah.
But I think too, people have to figure out for themselves, and it's different for everybody, what success actually looks like for them. Because to me, it's not $1 million a month in sales. It's the ability to go to Amsterdam for Christmas and not look at my phone or check an email once. It's the ability to, pay for my dog's vet care without thinking twice about the credit. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of, and especially for women, there's this like girl boss narrative that's so annoying and toxic. But there's these metrics that you're kind of are shoved down your throat of like, you're not successful unless blah, 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 blah. And I fell victim to that in the first portion of my career because it was just the narrative that was being pushed. And it wasn't until I was really into it that I realized like, that doesn't work for me. And I don't care. Like that isn't success to me. And once I really got clear on my definition of that, man, it's just been fun and enjoyable and like relaxing. Like I don't stress about work because
Yeah.
I'm just crystal clear about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it.
We talk a lot about being happy right now. Like if you always slide that, well, once I get here, I'll be happy. Once I get
Oh,
here.
you can't
Yeah, it's
attach
one-
your happiness to anything
you
in the
can't.
future.
You can't.
Yeah. Because you'll never be happy. You're always chasing something.
Yeah, for sure. It'll always evade you.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Tell people how to find you. How do they find you if they want to buy something from you?
All right. So, do you do promo codes?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, cool. You can find Hawkins and Clover. We're located in historic Grant Park, right by Oakland Cemetery. So you can come shop with us in person, or you can shop online at hawkinsandclover.com. And if you want to use use promo code Clover Club, all caps, it'll give you 10% off your purchase. And I also have a podcast called Clover Club, and you can find us on Instagram at Clover Club Pod, and you can find Hawkins and Clover on Instagram at Hawkins and Clover.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it a lot. Your perspective, it means a lot to us, and your industry's fucking hard. It's really hard.
It makes it fun when you succeed, though.
Yeah, I know. And your spirit and your energy is awesome.
Thanks.
Because I know that it's easy to get wrapped into that 100-hour-a-week whirlwind of going hard.
No way.
Yeah, you can.
I like to nap.
You can be a business owner and you can still have a lot of fun doing it.
I exclusively have fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Burn the ship. If you have anything else to tell people, though, the platform is yours.
Just open your business. Just don't. If you have that spark inside of you, it doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. All you're going to do is look back and be like, I wish I had. Yeah. So just fucking do it.
It definitely doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. Yeah. You're chosen. Answer the call.
Cool. Burn the ship.
Burn the ship.